first question I have to ask all of you, and please don't change your answer if you answered it differently last time. Does 5 minutes with someone feel like a long time? Raise your hand. All right, I see you this time, okay? For most people, it's not. For most people, 5 minutes just flies by like the blink of an eye. And the reason is, and that's the problem, is that we don't understand how our concept of time, based on our experience with it, impacts our connection with others. So let me share my experience with salsa dancing. I would dance a little bit more, but I'm mic'd up and I'm scared to trip. But let me share my experience from salsa dancing, where the average song actually happens to be about 5 minutes long. I've been dancing salsa for over 20 years, teaching, traveling around the world. For many years, I was at an event every single weekend, and every weekend consisted of 3 to 4 nights of dancing, and every night of dancing consisted of 4 to 5 hours of dancing. It's a lot of 5-minute songs. Now, when I first started, each dance, each partner was just a dance and just a partner. I didn't really think about anything beyond a place to practice and just get my steps in. I looked at the aggregate number of the hours that I was on the dance floor, but not focusing on anything specific. Eventually, I started getting bored with the dance, feeling like I was plateauing. And I eventually understood this to be my mindset, not the dance itself. So I shifted my mindset. And I realized that there is so much more to 5 minutes than I could have ever imagined. Moments to learn from and moments to contribute back to. So I'm going to break this up into 4 segments: our self, the music, the environment, and our partner. I'm going to start with the element of self. I started paying attention to myself. Sounds a little bit silly because who doesn't pay attention to themselves, right? But not just whether I was dancing, but how was my body responding to the cues that I knew versus the cues that I didn't? Was my movement efficient? If so, why? If not, why not? How could I improve that? How did I recover from, let's say, poor execution? Could I remember that recovery and replicate that later? Was I committed to the moment? Was my facial expression, my energy, my tension, or the word from last week, my countenance on point? By paying closer attention to myself, I developed my ability to learn, process, and apply on the fly. Now, I didn't learn the dance the traditional way by taking classes, but I feel like I know a lot more about movement and expression than people who've been studying it for years. And this awareness has increased my confidence in my own body and what it's truly capable of in terms of expressing myself, my creativity, and my adaptability. We can all achieve proficiency in whatever it is that we do, but without constant introspection, we can also plateau in our growth. Then there's the element of music. I started paying closer attention to the songs and the intricacies of each song. Salsa music, if you've never heard it, is rich in layers of instrumentation and melodies that you can miss when you're listening passively. So by paying closer attention to the music, I trained my ear to pick up those nuances and intricacies and started connecting with them. And without that shift in intention, I would never have gotten to where I am today, which is one of the most musical and creative dancers in the world. And an added bonus to that was the affirmation that I received from musicians when I was dancing to live music, that they appreciated that I danced to and with their music versus over or through it. Dancing to the beat and dancing to the music are very different, but the latter is not possible unless you're listening actively. The third element is the environment. I started paying attention to my environment, not just where the dance floor was located and whether I was on it or not, but the details of my surroundings. Who else was on the dance floor? Who was around me? How were they moving? How were they dancing? Were they equally attentive to what was happening around them? Was it crowded? Were people filming? Were people watching? By paying attention to my environment, I better understood its potential impact on me, my partner, and our dance. When I first started dancing, I was always like bumping into people and people were bumping into me. I can do that because my wall's here, because I had no spatial awareness. But by predicting the movements of other dancers around, I could adjust and accommodate to prevent those collisions. If the dance floor was crowded, I would skip a dance, or I'd wait for the next song. And if there were a lot of people watching, I would consider the pressure that that might have on me and my partner. It's difficult to have fun when you don't feel safe or you feel like you're being judged. So focusing on the environment and adapting to it was one way that I could contribute to a safer dance. And finally, there's the element of my partner. I started paying attention to my partner. I used to just focus on the moves and the signals in the dance. So a raised arm would mean a turn, or open body would mean that's a cross body lead. But I never really paid attention to my partner, to understand my partner. Was my partner smiling? What was their posture? Was it one of confidence or uncertainty? Was the tension in their hands nervous, fearful, and insecure? By paying attention to my partner, I was able to adapt my dancing and contribute to an increase in their comfort, the confidence, and expression. If they weren't smiling, I'd find ways to bring one out. I'd smile more, I'd laugh, I'd make a joke. If they were tense, I would adapt to my connection to decrease that tension. If they appeared uncertain or insecure because they were dancing with professional Magna Gopal, then I would make an intentional mistake to show them I'm human too. Because dance is a conversation. But like any conversation, it's not just about words, it's also about tone, delivery, volume, posture, and many other elements. I realize now that 5 minutes can mean a lot more than we think. And I no longer take any of my 5 minutes for granted with anybody. Every moment with another person, regardless of the duration or the content of that moment, is a moment of impact. But this impact will go unrealized and unappreciated if we are passively present. And the only way to maximize our growth and contribute to a healthy relationship is to be active and committed. There is a lot that can happen in 5 minutes if you're paying attention. So thinking about your own lives, how are you showing up when you're around other people? Do you understand the power and impact of your 5 minutes? Thank you.